The Nevada desert. Even the name feels like a threat whispered on the wind. It's a canvas of bleached sand and jagged rock, sculpted by unrelenting sun and the ghosts of forgotten dreams. We chase those ghosts. Me, Liam, Chloe, and Ben, a quartet of urban explorers bonded by an insatiable hunger for the unexplained, for the places where reality frays at the edges. Our obsession? Alien life. Not the little green man of cheesy B-movies, but the undeniable, irrefutable proof that we are not alone. This time, our obsession led us here, miles beyond the perimeter fences of Area 51, to a place that existed only in fragmented whispers on dead forums and encrypted message boards. Project Nightingale. A government listening post abandoned decades ago, its mission to passively monitor the skies for extraterrestrial radio signals. The whisper was that it was shut down abruptly, deemed a failure. But something about the abruptness, the complete erasure from public record, smelled of something far more interesting. The heat is oppressive, even under the pre-dawn sky. Liam, ever the gearhead, checks the GPS one last time. "We're close," he says, his voice tight with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Chloe, our documentarian, adjusts the camera on her shoulder, her face a mask of determined focus. Ben, the muscle of the group, scans the horizon, his hand instinctively resting on the heavy-duty flashlight strapped to his belt. Me? I try to ignore the gnawing feeling in my gut, the irrational sense that we are being watched, a feeling that has been growing ever since we crossed the last paved road and plunged into this desolate landscape. The air itself seems to vibrate with a silent warning. The ground crunches under our boots as we move forward, the only sound besides the relentless hum of cicadas, a sound that, ironically, seems almost alien in its constancy. We walk for another hour, the sun beginning to paint the sky in hues of blood orange and bruised purple. Then, a glint of metal in the distance. It's unmistakable. A cluster of decaying antennas, their skeletal arms reaching towards the heavens. Project Nightingale. The main building is a low, concrete bunker, half buried in the sand. The entrance is sealed with a rusted steel door and blazoned with a faded warning sign. U.S. government property, unauthorized entry prohibited. Liam produces a set of lockpicks, his fingers dancing over the tumblers with practiced ease. A click, and the door swings inward, groaning in protest after decades of silence. The smell hits us immediately, a musty, metallic odor, like old blood and ozone. We step inside, our flashlights cutting through the darkness. Dust motes dance in the beams, illuminating a scene of organized chaos. Consoles covered in dials and switches, their surfaces corroded with age. Racks of vacuum tubes, their filaments long extinguished. A tangle of wires snaking across the floor, like the veins of some long-dead beast. But something is wrong, terribly wrong. A faint, rhythmic pulse emanates from the heart of the room, a subtle vibration that can be felt more than heard, a low hum that seems to burrow into your bones. We move deeper into the bunker, the pulse growing stronger with each step. Then, we find it. A single console, bathed in the eerie green glow of a CRT screen. It's humming, crackling with energy, utterly defying the passage of time. Numbers flicker across the display, oscillating wildly. And then we hear it, filtering through the static. A chilling rhythmic signal, a pattern of beeps and clicks that sounds almost conversational. But interspersed within that signal, almost buried beneath it, is something far more disturbing. A distorted, guttural scream. My breath hitches in my throat. The others freeze, their faces illuminated by the flickering green light. We stare at each other, a shared understanding dawning in our eyes. This isn't just a listening post. It's something else. Liam reaches for the console, his hand trembling slightly. "What the hell is this?" he whispers, his voice barely audible above the incessant hum. As his fingers hover over the controls, the rhythmic signal intensifies, the distorted screams becoming more frequent, more desperate. The air crackles with static, and then a new sound. Faint, barely perceptible, but undeniably there. A whisper, carried on the wind. A whisper that seems to be coming from everywhere. Hello? The word, so simple, so innocuous, is like a punch to the gut. It's not any of us. The whisper is deep, resonant, alien. It reverberates through the room, through our skulls. The screens in front of us light up with erratic patterns. Chloe begins to shake her head, and her camera falls to the floor. Ben is just staring at the console. Liam is frozen in place, unable to speak. I back away slowly, stumbling over a pile of debris, the whisper echoing in my ears. Hello? We're not alone. And whatever is here, whatever is listening, is now listening to us. Project Nightingale wasn't just listening. It was broadcasting. And something has answered. We have to get out of here, I think, as I continue to move backward. But before I can even turn and run, the lights flicker violently, plunging the room into near darkness. The rhythmic signal becomes a deafening roar, the distorted screams rising to a fever pitch. A wave of nausea washes over me, blurring my vision. And then the hallucinations begin. Just a flicker at first, a fleeting image superimposed on reality. My mother's face, her eyes filled with concern, her voice calling my name. "Daniel, are you all right?" The image vanishes as quickly as it appears, leaving me disoriented and terrified. I gasp for air, desperately trying to anchor myself to reality. But the hallucinations are intensifying, becoming more vivid, more real. Liam staggers back, his eyes wide with horror. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" he cries, reaching out to empty air. Chloe starts screaming uncontrollably at an unseen force, clawing at her face. Ben stands rigidly, whispering that his wife says that he is a disappointment. The air grows cold in my bones. I understand then. This isn't about aliens. It's about fear. The logbooks, the whispers on the forums, they were right. Project Nightingale wasn't just about listening for alien signals. It was about isolating the human fear response, amplifying it, weaponizing it. They were broadcasting fear, pure, unadulterated terror, and something was responding. My mother's voice echoes in my head. "Daniel, come home. You're not safe here." I shake my head, trying to block out the voices, the images, but they're relentless, growing stronger with each passing moment. A feeling of cold dread falls upon me. I see my younger brother, who died in a car accident years ago, standing in front of me, his face bloodied and bruised. "Why didn't you save me, Daniel? It's your fault that I am dead." I collapse to my knees, my hands clasped over my ears, the voices closing in, crushing me. The screams of my friends blend with the whispers of my loved ones, creating a cacophony of terror that threatens to shatter my mind. Then, silence. A sudden, deafening silence, broken only by the rhythmic pulse of the console. I open my eyes, my vision blurred with tears. Chloe is gone, vanished. Ben is hunched on the ground, rocking back and forth, seemingly catatonic, mumbling something I can't quite make out. Liam is slumped against a wall, his eyes wide and vacant, his face pale. And on the console in front of him is a wet, crimson stain. And in the air, I hear my mother's voice one last time before I am overcome by the darkness. "Daniel, it's time to come home." Darkness gives way to a blurry, sickening green. My head throbs like a drum beaten without mercy.
I'm lying on the cold metal floor, the metallic scent of blood thick in the air. My limbs feel heavy, unresponsive. Disorientation claws at me, pulling me down, but the memory of my mother's voice, that final, sorrowful plea, snaps me back, a cruel jolt of awareness. I push myself up, wincing as pain spears through my skull. The lab swims back into focus, a horrifying tableau of fear made manifest. Ben is still rocking, his mumbling clearer now, though no less disturbing. He's repeating a single phrase over and over. It knows me. It knows me. It knows me. Liam remains slumped against the wall, unmoving, the crimson stain blossoming across the console, dripping onto the floor. Chloe is still gone, vanished without a trace. My stomach churns. Where could she have gone? A low hum vibrates through the room, emanating from the console, a counterpoint to Ben's desperate mantra. The rhythmic pulse I heard before is now faster, more insistent, like a frantic heartbeat. I drag myself towards Liam, my breath catching in my throat. His eyes are fixed on something unseen, pupils dilated to black pools. I reach out a trembling hand and touch his shoulder. It's cold, too cold. As I put my fingers against his neck, I search for a pulse, but there is nothing. His eyes remain blank, forever fixated on whatever unspeakable horror he witnessed. Panic flares. This isn't just a hallucination, a bad trip induced by Project Nightingale's fear frequencies. This is real. Ben is lost in his own nightmare. Liam is dead. Chloe. I don't even want to think about Chloe. I have to get out of here. We all do. If Ben can be pulled back from whatever abyss he's staring into. But I know, deep down, even if we leave here, the horror will follow us. A faint creak echoes from the far end of the lab, near the heavy steel door that leads to the outside. It sounds like metal straining, as if something heavy is pressing against it. My blood runs cold. The door is supposed to be locked, sealed. Only authorized personnel with the correct access codes can open it. Unless whatever responded to Project Nightingale's broadcast found a way in. The hum from the console intensifies, almost deafening now, making my teeth ache. I can feel it vibrating through my bones, a tangible wave of dread. Ben's mumbling escalates into a frantic, high-pitched wail. It's watching us. It's always been watching us. I stagger back, away from Liam's lifeless body, away from the console, away from Ben's descent into madness. My heart pounds against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat urging me to flee. But where can I go? I'm trapped, caught in a web of fear and death, with something unseen, something malevolent closing in. A new sound joins the chorus of terror, a faint, guttural whisper, so low it's almost subsonic. I can't make out the words, but the intent is clear. It's a promise of pain, of suffering, of oblivion. My chest tightens, and I feel like I'm gonna pass out. This can't be happening. This is a nightmare. Wake up, Daniel. Wake up! The creaking sound from the door comes again, louder this time, followed by a metallic groan. The handle rattles. It's trying to get in. A wave of nausea washes over me. I scramble for the emergency exit button, the one that overrides all security protocols, but my fingers fumble, clumsy with fear. Where is it? The whisper grows louder, closer, accompanied by a faint scratching sound, like claws on metal. Then Ben suddenly stops rocking and goes completely silent. He rises to his feet, his eyes still vacant, but now there is a strange stillness about him, an unnerving calm. He turns his head slowly, deliberately towards me. A thin smile spreads across his face, a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "It wants to talk to you, Daniel," he whispers, his voice flat and emotionless. "It says you're the one it's been waiting for." The scratching at the door intensifies. The handle turns. I'm trapped. I stumble backward, away from Ben and the door. My mind races, desperately searching for an escape. I have to find Chloe, and we have to get out of here, no matter what. The metal hum is now a piercing shriek, resonating deep within my skull. Ben takes a step towards me, his smile widening, becoming grotesque. His eyes are no longer his own. They are filled with a dark, knowing intelligence, a reflection of something ancient and malevolent. "Don't be afraid, Daniel," he says, his voice a distorted echo of his own. "It only wants to show you the truth." The door creaks open a fraction of an inch, revealing a sliver of impenetrable darkness. A wave of icy air rushes into the lab, carrying with it the stench of decay and something else, something indescribably foul. From the darkness, I hear a voice, not a whisper, but a clear, resonant tone, filled with power and infinite age. "Daniel, we have been waiting for you. Come and see what we have to show you." I stand frozen, paralyzed by fear. All I can do is stare into the darkness, knowing that whatever awaits me there is beyond my comprehension, beyond my worst nightmares. The shriek from the console reaches a crescendo. Ben takes another step. He has no pupils. Just blackness stares back at me. He reaches out, and his hand is not human. The emergency lights flicker. I see that he is standing in front of the door. I need to decide. There is no more time. Do I run for the door and the darkness, or stay here and deal with Ben? Which is the lesser of evils? I have to do something before it makes the choice for me. But what?
The choice, stark and terrifying, slammed into me like a physical blow. Ben, or whatever that was, blocked the only visible exit. But the darkness beyond the creaking door radiated an aura of ancient, unknowable horror that made my blood run cold. Could I truly face whatever lurked there? Was a quick, horrifying death at Ben's mutated hands a preferable alternative to that? My mind raced, desperately trying to latch onto a shred of logic, a plan, anything. Chloe. I had to think about Chloe. She was depending on me. Abandoning her was not an option, but what could I do? The emergency lights chose that moment to flicker again, plunging the lab into near darkness for a split second. That was enough. A desperate, reckless idea sparked in my mind. It was insane, suicidal, but it was all I had. As the lights sputtered back to life, casting grotesque shadows across Ben's distorted features. I screamed. A primal, guttural sound ripped from my throat, the sound of pure terror and adrenaline-fueled desperation. It was enough to momentarily distract him. In that heartbeat of confusion, I lunged, not towards the door, not towards the darkness, but towards the console. The metallic shriek intensified as I scrambled across the room, the air thick with the stench of ozone and decay. Ben turned, his movements jerky and unnatural, his black eyes fixing on me with an unholy hunger. I could feel his presence looming behind me, a wave of cold dread washing over my skin. Ignoring him, I slammed my fist down on the control panel, randomly hitting buttons, yanking levers, desperate to shut down whatever ungodly machine had transformed my friend into this thing. Sparks flew, the console shuddered, and the screaming of the machine reached a deafening pitch. Ben roared, a sound that was both human and inhuman, filled with rage and pain. He lurched forward, his clawed hand outstretched, but he was too slow. I ripped a handful of wires from the back of the console, ignoring the electric shocks that coursed through my body. The screaming abruptly stopped. Silence. The sudden silence was even more terrifying than the noise. The emergency lights flickered erratically, casting dancing shadows that played tricks on my eyes. Ben stood frozen, his posture stiff and unnatural. Then, slowly, horrifyingly, his head began to tilt back, his body contorting at impossible angles. A wet cracking sound filled the lab as his bones snapped and twisted. I stumbled back, gagging, unable to tear my eyes away from the grotesque spectacle. He let out a final agonized groan, a sound that tore at my soul. Then, with a sickening thud, he collapsed to the floor, a broken, twisted mockery of the man I had known. I stood there gasping for breath, my heart pounding in my chest, the metallic tang of blood filling my mouth. Ben was gone. But the silence was not complete. A faint, almost imperceptible whisper drifted from the open doorway, a sibilant sound that sent shivers down my spine. "Come," it hissed. "Come and see." The darkness beckoned, promising answers and threatening oblivion. The air in the lab grew colder, a palpable chill that seeped into my bones. My legs trembled, threatening to give way beneath me. I had stopped Ben, for now. But the real threat, the source of this nightmare, still lingered in the shadows. I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the core, that escaping Ben hadn't solved anything. It had only delayed the inevitable. I had a brief moment of respite, a chance to think, to plan. But what was there to plan? How could I possibly fight something I didn't understand, something that seemed to exist beyond the realm of human comprehension? Every instinct screamed at me to run, to flee as far and as fast as I could. But Chloe, I had to leave her. She was still out there somewhere, in this hellhole. I had to find her. Taking a deep breath, I forced myself to move. I skirted around Ben's mangled body, averting my gaze from the horrific sight. The creaking door loomed before me, a gateway to the unknown. I reached out, my hand trembling, and pushed it open a little further. The darkness seemed to writhe and pulse like a living thing. I could hear the faintest of whispers carried on the icy wind, a chorus of voices that seemed to be calling my name. "Daniel, Daniel." My mind screamed at me to turn back, but my feet seemed to have a will of their own. I stepped across the threshold into the darkness. The door slammed shut behind me, the sound echoing through the silent corridors. I was plunged into absolute blackness, a suffocating void that pressed in on me from all sides. I couldn't see, couldn't hear, couldn't even feel the ground beneath my feet. All I could sense was the overwhelming presence of something ancient and malevolent, something that had been waiting for me, waiting for centuries, perhaps millennia. Then a single point of light appeared in the distance, a tiny spark in the vast darkness. It flickered and danced, drawing me closer, like a moth to the flame. As I moved towards it, the whispering grew louder, more insistent, a cacophony of voices that spoke of secrets and promises, of power and knowledge. I felt a strange pull, a compulsion that I couldn't resist. Was this what it was waiting for? Was my curiosity its weapon? Or was this the only way to find Chloe, to stop this madness and escape with our lives? The light grew brighter, revealing a long, winding corridor, lined with ancient, crumbling stone walls. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay, and the whispering voices seemed to be coming from the walls themselves. I hesitated for a moment, my heart pounding in my chest. Then, taking another deep breath, I started walking. The corridor stretched out before me, an endless labyrinth of darkness and whispers. I knew, with growing certainty, that there was no turning back. Whatever awaited me at the end of this corridor, it was something I couldn't avoid. I could only hope that I was strong enough to face it.
Hey, guys, that's the end of this story. What did you think? Did it creep you out, make you think, or remind you of something strange from your own life? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one and love hearing what you're feeling. If you enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe for more eerie tales like this one. Hit that bell so you don't miss the next video, because you never know what's lurking around the corner. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.